Hello. So someone was asking me yesterday what we're up to, and actually things are starting to come together. So I thought I'd talk through what we've been working on. Blecon is working on making Bluetooth OEM devices available to SaaS developers to design into products. For some reason it's not really possible at the moment, but the reason we love Bluetooth is they're super cheap devices, already made in lots of quantity. Bluetooth as a standard, incredibly robust, and actually reasonably high bandwidth. The main problem is they usually act as peripherals to a phone or something like that, like your Fitbit, whereas that's not really how the internet works. So we've been looking at, well, what would it take to make devices like this accessible for people building SaaS services. So what we've been looking at is, okay, they're based on Bluetooth, but the internet world, it works pretty much as a request response model with the devices being a client. It's not really how Bluetooth generally works. Usually it's a server to a phone. In our case, we're looking, well, what if they were a client? And they need to talk to the internet, so how do they do that? Well, standard way to get devices like these connected to the internet is via a gateway, like a gateway you put it on the wall. But there's no reason why those gateways can't be mobile and cellular, or even using phones, because phones are prevalent, they're everywhere, they have Bluetooth built in, they're connected to the internet already. Is there a way we can kind of use all of these things as access points, and also mobile access points? They can actually move around to become in and out of range of these devices, so maybe you can get coverage by them moving around. So that sort of looks like a virtual network. So that's what we've been thinking about. So what does a Blecon, what would a virtual network infrastructure look like if you could deploy a virtual network for your services? All these devices could connect to and talk to your services, and you obviously need to configure that somehow. And then we actually get down to the service you're trying to integrate these devices with. Well, so what does that look like? Well, you've got a service backend, it's talking to the clients you have at the moment, so browsers, people working through your web front end, or maybe you have an app, so people are entering information or recording or looking at information through that. Those connect into your API. Also, that I think that's how you'd want it for the devices as well. So a device is requesting some information, like getting some configuration, or it's pushing some data to your backend, just like someone entering something from an app. So we're sort of looking at a system where, as a device makes a request, it comes in as an HTTP post on your service backend, like any other one, and you can reply, and that response goes back to the device. And obviously, we want that connection to be secure. We want it to be reliable, and ideally, this device can talk whenever it has some sort of connectivity. So that's what we've been thinking about. How would we make this work? So let's have a look where we've got to so far. Okay, so we've got a setup here to show you the technology we're working on in action. So over here we have an example device that has been enabled with Blecon. This is, we're working with an OEM in China who already manufactures these devices, so effectively a firmware change to enable that for Blecon. I'm logged into the Blecon network console. So this is where I can configure my networks and the devices on those networks. I'll show you more about that in a second. And then this computer is logged into Heroku, where it's just running a very simple Node.js app that's acting as the service backend, so receiving information from devices and responding to them. Okay, so let's see how this works. So I've already got a test network set up. So normally you'd have maybe a production network and a test network for your company. And in this network, we've got a couple of things. We've got code that we can use to register devices with this network. And then we have, among our settings, The key ones are things like the API configuration. So this, for example, is where when a device makes a request, this is the endpoint, your API endpoint in your backend service that those requests will get routed to, and obviously the replies will go back to the device. And there's a couple of other things like when a device is spotted on the network, so we actually spot its geographic location. We can also call into your backend to tell you that device has been spotted. Okay, so let's get this device registered. So I'm just going to use my phone to do that. So if I basically take a snap of the network ID, that I've set that network, and I can now scan devices that I want to connect to that network. So obviously probably your customer would do this. So if I scan that device, I'm using NFC here and open that up. So now what it's going to do is load the information about that device. Here we go. So here's the device, here's its unique ID. So every Blecon device gets a unique ID. It's not connected to a network, and we have the option to connect it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I click connect, and this will go through to a configuration screen where you can confirm that connection. In this case, it's one we're hosting, but actually you can host this and make the registration with your into our API. So it can be fully integrated into your product. So let's confirm that connection. So now that device is connected, and we're showing that's connected. So if I go over to this computer, then oh well, things are already happening. So if I just tell the logs on Heroku here, so what's this device doing? Well, it's basically recording things like button presses and movement, things like that. And every 20 seconds at the moment, it's requesting from the network connection to your service, or this service here, and pushing that data. And you can actually see that coming through on Heroku here. So you can see post was received, it's a device request, and there's a device ID and a payload of some information it happens to be sending. And we send a response. In this case, this device responds with code 2 of playing that little beep. There you go. See, these requests are coming in. And if you look at my network activity, you can see the network is actually spotting the device, so we know where it is, and these requests are coming in from that device. So what we've already got here now is an OEM device that you just buy off the shelf. Your customer or yourself have registered it with your network, and now that network is routing that traffic to your backend service like it would if it was coming from a browser or from your app or whatever. So you can integrate that data, store it in your database, respond to configuration requests or whatever else it is that your service requires from these sorts of devices. So there we go, it's all coming together.